Hey, sweet souls, it's DTO in the flow. And today I get to interview Kevin Russell. And he is a dear friend of mine. I've gotten to know him really well. And we're going to share more about how we got to know each other. And Kevin is a designer and he's a first time author. And as you can see right here, he just launched a book called Radical Enlightenment, My Guy on the Ninth Floor. And Kevin is an energetic intuitive who helps people optimize their lives from their energetic core. Professionally, Kevin, for the last 20 years, as a UI, UX, user interface, user experience designer, and experienced strategist, he specialized in designing creative solutions that guided a user on a journey through an experience to an intended outcome. After a profound encounter of connecting to his higher energetic self, he realized that by coupling the skills he had honed in the design field with what he had learned on his own personal journey of self-discovery, he had the keys to guide others at lightning fast speed through a step-by-step process to experience the self-awareness and self-expansion and healing that is so deeply needed today for each of us as individuals and collectively as stewards of our planet. Whew, that's profound. Love it. So without further ado, we're going to bring on my friend, Kevin Russell. Kevin, great to be
Dave,
here.
good to be here. Thank you so much for having me. And
You're welcome.
I got to apologize about that wordy and long-winded intro.
There's just so many like Johnny Appleseed, like these
Yeah,
epic seeds of possibilities and blasting open your heart and your mind and your consciousness. It just makes sense that there would be like such a condensed possibility of expansion,
yeah,
especially with the title of this whole company that you've started, which is
yeah.
going to be a book series and audiobook is going to be launching soon called Radical Enlightenment. So that's really profound. It's worthy of the moment.
It's one of
I
those.
love it.
It read really well. I'll just have to punch it up a little bit for reading out loud. But I
You know
appreciate
what?
it.
When other people read your bio, it's almost like an out of body experience. Like,
I
who is
might.
this person speaking about?
Yeah, yeah, completely. It was actually a really good. I was glad to be part of that experience. It was good. I was like, okay,
Perfect.
that's interesting.
Excellent.
Yeah,
All right. So I want to let everyone know that's watching live right now that we are live streaming on a variety of platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. And we'd love for you to let us know where you are located because this is a global experience. Kevin and I happen to be in San Diego County. We'd love to know where you're at. We always love to interact with the audience because at any time, if you have any questions, feel free to comment, share. Of course, sharing is caring. We know this. That's a great move. And if you feel like not commenting with any earth words at all and you want to just create an emoji, whatever you're feeling today. It could be a heart. It could be, there's so many emojis. There's a
yeah,
whole, you could write a book on just in emojis, I'm sure, right?
absolutely.
It's the international language.
Yeah.
So yeah, we trust everyone that's watching is safe and healthy. First of all, we want to send any energies that you require at this moment. This is an interesting time in human history, and it's a time also for us to go inward and for us to have an opportunity to wake up and reach that stage which we call radical enlightenment. All right, so without further
Absolutely.
ado, we're going to jump into this. This is a
Mhm.
5Q interview show. So first of all, Kevin,
Yeah.
question number one: when did you begin your personal journey with reading books?
Yeah. So books in general, really young. My mom was reading to us nightly when we were. I have a younger sister, so that's the plural. Uh, as long as I can remember, and then that kind of continued with fiction and everything that was more entertainment based up through middle school, and then high school kind of dropped off, and then I pivoted to more thought based text. On campus, there was someone handing out, I think it was the Bhagavad Gita, so jumped into that, jumped into Taoism, jumped into classical Western philosophy, and really that was kind of those were the seeds that started to, Stoicism, Marcus Aurelius, things like that,
Mm.
that I was peppering in along the way. And then more recently, with the work that my wife does, really started looking at the more energetic sciences and science of connection, science of our brains and our minds and the subconscious, and starting to really get greater differentiation between all of those things. A lot of times I always felt there was a big word soup, and there wasn't anything, at least for me, that was a definitive, okay, I understand that and I understand that, and now I see how everything fits together. Um, but I was onboarding just all of this different information and different contrasting thought, and that's really kind of what ended up leading to where I am right now. So yeah, really, that's the long answer. Short answer is forever. It's always been an interest and an enjoyment for me.
That's wonderful. Yeah. So great follow up to that. As everyone knows out there, you speak, you listen, you read, and you write. And two of those
Mhm.
skill sets are more of the passive, and two of those are active. So
Yeah.
reading, of course, as we know, is a passive skill set, and active would be my question number two. So when did you first actually begin to write? Was it with a quill, or how long ago was that?
Yeah, right. I know.
Because the
I know.
technology's changed. Now you got like voice to text, and
Yeah.
we have Google Docs and Word
Oh
Docs,
my
and now you
gosh.
have like pen, paper. So when was it? Were you in elementary school? When did you start like creating? And what was it? Was it a poem? Was it
Yeah.
a little thought idea?
Yeah. I'm to we'll see how this ages me. So definitely pencil and paper, and then pen, obviously.
Yes,
I came up at the time with where they had that novel erasable pen. I don't know if you remember that.
I do remember. Yeah,
That was
yeah.
always fun. And then actually typing up papers on a typewriter, not a
Mm,
teletype, an actual old school typewriter with the
wow.
the eraser pencil and the brush and all that. Um, yeah, I mean, same thing, kind of forever. My mom was an English teacher, so I think that had an influence on both of these trajectories with the reading and the writing, as far as forms of expression and onboarding information. Um, and I guess the not really anything sticks out when I was younger, but I really started to get into creative writing in high school.
Mm,
And actually, there's something from high school that's in the book, ironically enough. And then it evolved. From there, it went into term papers and more like proof-based writing for school and for college. And then professionally, it was project proposals. Uh, Executive summaries and much more kind of technical, either digital and or business based writing. So again, it's been a concurrent thread, but and I had the creative. It's actually a perfect marriage, in retrospect. The creative outlet and the creative interest when I was in high school, and then learning how to really write more process based or action based, more in a lot of ways more dry, kind of business centered writing.
yeah.
And then I guess this is kind of the culmination of both, where there's a little bit of storytelling, but there's also a healthy dose of kind of prescriptive, process based exercises and experiences to really move the needle for us individually and collectively.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, my mom was an English major, and
Yeah.
so I grew up in a household very similar of making sure that it's proper grammar,
Hmm.
punctuation, and it really paid off in the end because communication, the power of it.
And that's really it. The nucleus is always that is the communication, and then it's just the the spectrum of creativity that we really connect with that or you know broadcast that. And especially now, there's so many fascinating and just brilliant ways that we're communicating, from the 60-second stuff, with TikTok to Twitch with live streaming, to this with live streaming. And then there's written and there's video and there's still, and there's really a home for all of it, which is it's spectacular.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you know, we get sender, message, receiver feedback, and we get to create that and
Yeah.
share and really allow for our soul's calling and our purpose to come through. And this is what's really powerful about you being an author. And so, question three is what makes your writing style unique?
It's funny. I appreciate you sharing the questions with me before. I saw that one and I was like, oh, that's a great question. Um, I think, and especially with the book, it would be straight from the heart, like full throttle, wide open. really not holding anything back. And then what I've heard from people that have read it is it has a really nice flow and it's very conversational. So I think intentionally, and then also just kind of, I think in the flow, I was writing as I would be explaining or talking or having a conversation with someone about it. And that's really, if that's the way it comes across, then I'll be really happy, because I think that's the best way to share anything is just from, from me to you, peer to peer, and we're just talking and sharing, like you said, we're communicating.
Mm. Yeah, I love the fact that you bring in, the research. You also bring in the storytelling, your experiences from the past, and then
Mm-hmm.
you culminate that with action steps, like how people
Yeah,
can truly up level their lives with
yeah,
the way that. And I feel too like the way that you've presented it, it's more of an inquiry. Like, hey, let's think about this. Let's present this as a possibility, and as that suggestion is laid before someone, then they get to have that choice. So
yeah.
that's really great.
And that's really it. It's a hyper individual process, practice, journey, whatever label or name we want to call it. But it's just, hey, this is what I did, this is where I got to in my perception of it, and this is what worked. And I think it is that there's, and again, it had to be balanced for me, for it to make sense to me, because I had exposure to theology and religion and science and philosophy and kind of inner work and psychology. And it was something where I always felt there was connection, and you kind of pull back far enough and it's like, oh yeah, of course everything's connected.
Yeah.
But it was really having it make sense from all those different facets of the prism that really kind of solidified things for me. And then I was thinking, well, if this makes one, I'm just a guy. So it's like, if this could happen to me, then game on. Like, we don't need to be monks in the forest for 20 years or meditate until our eyes are, crusted over, or mantras until, we can't hear anything else in our head. There are different avenues to it, whatever it is for you.
Mm. Yeah, I love that perspective. And really, we're all storytellers, and that's been the case for our species for the history of time.
Absolutely.
And I love the way that you're presenting that information. This is your pathway to enlightenment, and then
Yeah.
you get to say your radical process of enlightenment. So that's really
Yeah.
beautiful. And I got to know you a lot when you were recording the audiobook with me, and it's
And
really powerful.
yeah,
And
those, I mean, it was 2 months, and that was fantastic. I loved it. That whole experience was absolutely spectacular. I really appreciate the help.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was for me one of those possibilities and opportunities to consistently stay clear of where can the roads of your life and the
Mhm.
pathway of my life and the people that you've presented the book to. And as you've mentioned, Kelly, your wife's been a pivotal part of creating this, and it's
Yeah.
really this community effort that. And I do know you did the launch party with
Hmm.
a friend of yours. That's really awesome to like bring community together. So
Yeah, yeah, with Dejan Bowden. He was an acquaintance this year, and then it was an immediate, just like, okay, yep, I know you. We're let's do this. And
perfect.
it was interesting. It was his date, and I had kind of a range or a window I was looking at. And then it was one of those where all the tumblers like fell into place, and I just floated the idea. I said, hey man, I don't want to encroach, but if you're open to it in any way, I think I'm feeling like it would be a really good kind of co-creation. And it's really funny, once I read his book, and his book's poetry, my book's prescriptive nonfiction, and it had a really beautiful symmetry to it, and balance of kind of left brain, right brain. And then it was amazing that I was seeing what I had written condensed and transformed into a beautiful poem. And a lot of the same words and language was used. And these were created completely, we just met
Mm,
in June. And
that's
so these are two
awesome.
things created completely in isolation of each other that had almost a magnetic attraction to them. So yeah, it was really cool to experience.
Yeah, I love that. And talking about, how you have come to this place in your life. Question 4 is, what passions beyond writing do you have? And I know that
Yeah.
you're very active, you're an athlete,
Hmm.
and you've done so much in your journey so far in life. And, so share some of those passions and activities that you love. And I know that a lot of that had to do with the way that you met your guy on the ninth floor.
Yeah. Yeah. It was all, I mean, it was all part and parcel. It was all part of the package. It's funny right now, the most passion I have is doing this and sharing and talking and like just expanding the conversation around it. But
Yeah.
exclusive of anything book wise, yeah, my refuge has always been surfing. That's been my big mind, body, spirit kind of all in one, take it to the cleaners package. You get the exercise,
Nice.
you get the endorphins. There's something about, being in water, especially salt water. So that's always been one. And then, part of it is that approach of moving physically and working hard physically was an aspect that's always felt good for me in the macro sense. In the moment, yeah, you're sweating, you're huffing, you're puffing. It's tough and it's hard, and uh, you know, it's arduous. Like I went on a run today before our talk, and I had to. One, I cut it in half, and two, I was like, all right, am I going to stop? Nope, I can make it. I can make it. Um, but it's that getting to know you was really kind of the. I guess that would be if I had to do high level. Um,
Mm-hmm.
a lifelong passion would have always been self inquiry or just going towards things that felt good and that I benefited from. So physical activity, self inquiry, questioning, just not being satisfied with any particular or answer, any one thing coming from any particular camp, but always being open and curious to, okay, well, what else is there? How else can we look at the same thing or look at something completely different in a new way?
Hmm.
Um,
Love
and
that. So,
then,
so do you know
yeah.
this guy right here?
Okay. So I do have not an excuse, but a justification for one of the most straight leg turns I've ever pulled in my life. This is
It
at
looks
the.
awesome to me.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. That was at the end of like a 3 or 4 hour marathon session in Nicaragua a couple
Oh,
years ago.
beautiful. I'm from the cornfields of Iowa, as you know. So like that looks way beyond what anyone could do in the fields.
Oh man, I was literally just throwing all I had at it. I was just like, oh, okay, like jello legs and Gumby arms, and it was actually Jermaine. I can't remember his last name. He's the manager of the camp down there, and he was great enough to sit in the sweltering heat, taking shots of us trying to do our thing the
He was
entire
in
time
this
we were
one
there.
too. Wow,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
cool.
So that was a point down there called Habaneros. This was the best day we got it, and it was one of those where I'd really like to see it a couple more times with some different swell direction and different tide to really see what it can do. But yeah,
Totally. So how
yeah.
is surfing like riding? Do you have any connection there?
Ooh. So for me, the book was pure flow state.
um,
So that's why I like to say it was co-creation or download that came through my filter of my life experience. Um, so in that regard, it's less thinking and more just being in the moment and allowing or flowing. Um, because a wave, the interesting thing is time does slow down, but you're still going really fast, much faster than you would be if you're walking. So there's an interesting perspective shift in two different directions with surfing.
hmm.
Um, with riding, it would be more just kind of dropping into that flow state. You can't force things in surfing. A wave has a finite amount of energy, and so maintaining your position in that energy pocket is really what you want to do, and that's where you generate all the energy to do all the amazing things that the pros do.
Wow, that's
Um,
great.
Same thing with writing, or I'd say with anything. If you're an engineer, if you're an athlete, if you like math, if you're a gardener, if you're a chef, if you like cooking, whatever your thing is,
Yeah.
when you drop in and you do instead of thinking, one, you're more present. Two, I think across the board, you're going to come out with a better product, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And three, that's the space where it all happens. And so I think that flow state would be that connection. I love that question. Oh my gosh. And I'm going to volley that one back to you with
Yeah.
music and creation.
Mm.
What would be your counter outside of that, whether it be physical or gardening or cooking or whatever? Where's your parallel flow state?
Yeah, well, as you can see here, and I know one of the songs from my album you selected to be at the end of your audiobook, Bursting
Yes.
Stars. And so as you can see, hey, this guy, look at this. See if I can make this work.
That's almost that Nike commercial that's going around right now.
Oh, nice. Well, here we are creating it in the moment. Yeah. So for me, with the chakras and energy, it's really designing musical frequencies where when I am clear that there's a template, like
Hmm.
for you, when you're surfing, all right, there's water, there's like swells, there's waves, the moon's controlling it all and everything galactically is happening on this planet. And you get to be there, but you also get to almost surrender to the power of Mother Nature.
Yeah.
And so that's really my approach to music. Like I get to find a place to surrender. John Lennon said it best, I feel, where he said he didn't write one song, he allowed the song to write itself.
There you go. Yeah.
And talking of water, I'll say another quote, one of my all-time favorite artists, Sade,
Hmm.
she gave a great analogy about music where she said, like, you build the sailboat and
Yeah.
you set sail in a direction. And you know that the winds will be taking you, but at the same time, your North Star, you're going to head in that path
Yeah.
and be open to the winds of change and the direction, but also know, like, Mother Nature's Mother Nature. You're going to go in different directions. And I'll call that, like, my terminology, I call that studio magic. Like
There
I
you go.
might
Yeah.
go in and be like, okay, here's the song, here's the instruments, like all the technicalities of it all. And then at the moment, like, whoa, what just happened and how did that happen? And that sounds epic and
Yeah.
amazing. And it's almost like, as you know, like chop wood, carry water, right? You just keep on doing what you're doing and creating
Yeah.
what you're creating. And all of a sudden you get these, like in the Pac-Man, walk, 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 walk. And all of a sudden, like you have the little dots, and all of a sudden there's like a nice strawberry right in front of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're like, wow, how did that appear? I guess I
Yep.
sourced that because of my diligence and my perseverance to move forward. So that's how I relate music to that flow state.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's thanks for providing that feedback and that question right back at me. I love it.
I love that, and I hadn't heard that from Sade before. So that's such a brilliant take on it too.
Hmm.
I love that perspective. That's awesome.
Absolutely. And so you have completed your book. So question 5
Mhm.
is, let's hear more about Radical Enlightenment, My Guy on the
Yeah.
Ninth Floor. How can people find it online? What have the results been? I want to pop up a testimonial that I want to share that really encompasses the moment I picked up the book. It hit me with such force that I realized I've been sitting on top of an untapped well of power all my life and didn't even notice. The concept of being totally open with myself and my experiences, allowing the world to happen without trying to shape external stimuli, and being an observer is a total game changer. It's my new manual for life. Boom. That is huge, Kevin. That's
That's
amazing.
Well, first of all, thank you very much, Aisha, and I'm really glad that was your experience with it.
Mm,
Yeah. So when you were reading that, something popped into my head, and it's a quote by Don Miguel Ruiz Jr.
mm,
And it's your responsibility ends at your fingertips, but that's ultra challenging for so many of us because that means that we are ultimately responsible for everything that goes on the inside, which then gets expressed into our world, interacts, intermingles, and coexists and transforms and translates with everyone around us as well. And so, yeah, best place to learn more would be radicalenlightenment.com.
oh, wonderful. Okay.
Socials there. You can get the book. There's a Amazon, Barnes and Noble. There's a bunch of different more boutique and independent online retailers as well. At My Guy on the Ninth Floor is Instagram. It's a great way to keep up with me as well. And yeah, so the book is really just a manual for living an energetically optimized life. And that kind of entails the thought or the foundation that at its core, everything is energy. And if that's true, then we are energy at our core.
Mm-hmm.
And our energy can not only change and morph and evolve as we do, but we're constantly influencing and co-creating our world based on our internal perception of our external experiences. And it's really a guide to evolve that perspective and move from being conscious of being aware that I'm a living, breathing creature to consciousness, which to me is the observation of the conscious experience, the observation of living our life. And there's a whole, really a whole path of accomplishment or path of execution to get there in the book. And that's really the first step. Getting to that observer perspective is really the first step of that energetic evolution. There's a lot of practical step or practical things that go into it, and that everybody has at least heard, I think, by this point. One thing I had mentioned as far as how we can all right now elevate our personal energy and get back to a balanced or balanced system or stasis within our own bodies. I kind of threw that out when I announced that we're going to be live. So there's 6 things we can do right now. One is get outside, ideally barefoot, because with energy comes frequency. Everything energetic has an energetic signature, which is expressed by frequency at some level. And awesome. And so our brain waves, our brain states have frequency as well. So our alpha wave, I think, resonates between 4 to 8 hertz. The Earth, all things being equal, resonates right around 7.83 hertz. So the resonant hum, the resonant energy signature of the Earth is identical to the brainwave state that we experience consciousness, where we are in calm, relaxed awareness. So getting outside, ideally barefoot. Earth is exceptional. Beach is great. Water is wonderful. So anything you're doing to interact and be out in nature, number one. Diet's the other one. As close to a whole food plant-based diet as you can. Leave the processed as much as you can. Leave the refined sugars. Leave the processed oils. That doesn't mean it has to be boring. And if you eat meat, eat meat. But how much do you need to survive or thrive? One thing in the book is that the average American right now eats twice the volume of protein that's recommended in a day on average. And so we definitely have room. There's room in the scale. It's just modification of behavior at the personal level based on what you want. If the individual is happy and living a fulfilled life, then game on, you're good to go. But if there's something that's missing, or there's questioning, or you're looking for an answer you haven't found, I think there's a lot of signposts and references in the book that can really help people on their journey.
Yeah.
So diet's a big one. There you go. Yeah. Totally.
This guy on the left, standard American diet. The guy on the right, plant powered. And for me, it's been a 15-year journey, and
yeah,
it's definitely been a game changer. So I definitely, as you can see, visual evidence, exhibit A.
Absolutely.
And then that's the thing. Like, some people have been like, come on, you got to eat da 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 da. And I'm like, I'm not protein deficient. And from all I know, I don't think any human beings ever died of protein deficiency, because most people are like over proteined because there's protein in so many sources. Like quinoa is a complete protein.
Completely. Yeah.
And by the way, this is my little musical joke. If quinoa were a band, it would be dubstep, because it'd be quinoa wah 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 wah.
Okay. Now, some DJ somewhere, please drop that in.
Yeah, it's copywritten.
It's some festival. Okay, it is.
Yeah. You and I, we can claim it right now.
There we go. Nice.
It can be.
I love it.
All right, so we got go outside, eating plant powered, and this is streaming on my site, Plant Powered Living, right now. So
yes.
What's the third recommendation you have?
Third would be adequate sleep. Sleep is not only when our biological processes get a lot done and move through things biologically, but also mentally and emotionally and energetically. So good quality sleep, it's one of those like, hey, let's just say 8 hours. If you get 6, fantastic. If you get 10, you're killing it. If you get 12 and it works for you, live your life, but get adequate sleep. Dark, quiet room, get electronics out of there if you have trouble sleeping.
Turn off the Wi-Fi.
Turn off the Wi-Fi.
Himalaya always has us turn off the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
And
it's broadcasting a signal, and that can influence and interact with our biorhythms. So yeah.
And absolutely. I'll even double down on that and say, like, get sleep in nature if possible. Because I was just in Mammoth over the weekend, and all of a sudden my circadian rhythm started to pump in. I was like, wow, like I'm gonna wake up with the sun. We get so disconnected in this paradigm that we're in right now, and so that's really powerful. And it's summertime, sleep outside in the tent or
100%. And that, honestly, that's the greatest probably 7-day reset you could ever do is go camping for a week. Because your biological rhythms will completely resync with their natural rhythms. So that's basically like bathing in a prescription. The prescription is the activity. So you're 100%. And then you're combining them. So you're magnifying.
Yeah. So all of these suggestions for anyone listening can be done individually or collectively, or some of them could be, mix and match and little puzzle pieces.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Love it. All right.
Hydration. I think majority of Americans, again, I don't know for the rest of the world, we are chronically dehydrated. Again, if you're thinking about a fuel cell and it's a hydrogen fuel cell and that hydrogen level drops, the fuel cell is not going to be as effective.
Yeah.
We are energy, and this is our fuel cell. So keep it hydrated, keep it nutrient rich with clean and accessible calories and energy, and stay hydrated. The thing in the book, there's a lot of different ways. You drink an ounce for every pound. You drink 2 ounces for every 10 pounds, whatever. It might be a little bit crude, but drink enough water until you pee clear at least once a day. Is my theme. That's when you're not drinking alcohol or exactly. Yeah. The proof is literally in front of you.
Yeah, exactly. Visual evidence. I've done that where, you're just like, oh, wow, I forgot. Here's something that I spoke about earlier when Himalaya and I were doing this leadership program. We really told people to create accountability and structure in your life. Use your phone, set a timer that says, eat an apple, eat lunch, drink water, because I can't trust, nor can you, nor anyone trust on just your brain as just one organ of many organs in our system. We're a complex organism. And so sometimes it's get that little reminder, oh yeah, I got to drink water. And it's simple, but guess what? I think this time in the world, it's time to get back to basics. And I feel so far, Kevin, all these items that you've listed are really that we've forgotten.
It's 100%, and that's it. This isn't anything new. This isn't the whole book is an exercise in reduction. We're clearing out our energetic blockages between our true inner humanity selves and all the conditioning things that we layer on top and then we start reacting to, and that really wreaks havoc on our personal lives, our communities, and our entire world. And it also comes at it from a perspective of it's behavior and habit change. And to your point, if whatever an individual needs to do to cultivate that or support that, do it. My thing's making lists. I make lists all the time.
Write it down. Get it out of your head, right? If
get you it out of the head
because you have things on your mind, just export.
Yeah. And there's a ton of hacks out there for this type of stuff: behavior change, personal growth, personal development, journaling, keeping a list, setting alerts, because it's not easy to change a system's programming. And if we look at it from that perspective, our bodies are a supercomputer, our subconscious. And that's the distinction I make in the book, is between our conscious mind, our subconscious mind, and then our energetic selves, which is the core of every single one of us. And the subconscious is our entire system, because especially with what's coming out now, our brain is actually our entire body. This is the gooey gray matter where there's a lot going on. It's kind of the control center. but we get as much input and influence from our stomachs and our intestines and the blood in our veins and the alkalinity or the acidity of our systems. And so these are all things that we can actively take control of without pharmaceuticals, without anything else other than intention, the desire, and the willingness to make changes in our lives. That's it. That's the starting point. If you've got that, you're already on the path. You're already on the journey. And then the book's just, it's a handbook. Stick in your back pocket. Pull it out when you need, and you take it with you.
Beautiful. So what's the fifth recommendation?
So the fifth is breath. So look at a baby breathe. Okay, yeah. Actually, let's do this right now. Okay, so in order to, I got to show you this. In order to breathe, we need to relax our diaphragm. In order to relax our diaphragm, we have to release our core muscles. So it's not going to look beach body, but round those bellies. Just let it go. Let the gut go. And if you breathe into your belly, for me, I feel like I almost have twice the lungs that I do, because I'm really breathing into the depth of my lungs. So look at a baby breathing. Big, expansive belly breaths. No toddler is holding in their gut. No toddler is trying to make anything look a certain way.
Yeah.
And that's another thing we've gotten away from. We've gotten away from our natural, relaxed breathing rhythms, because one, we're so like this all the time. We're either, majority of the time, we're in some degree of fight or flight, where our prefrontal cortex is shut down, and we are in our lizard brain, right? And we default usually to either an emotional or an intellectual state at that point, whatever our default is. So, of course, in those instances, we're going to be taking shallow breaths. We're ready to do something, because we're biologically reacting to our perception of our world. So the more we breathe, the more we oxygenate our systems. The more we oxygenate our systems, the more we shift from an acidic to an alkaline state. Disease and illness cannot exist in an alkaline state. So that's one benefit. The other benefit is you're flooding your system with endorphins, because you're hyperoxygenation. So it is, Wim Hof is one practice that I always mention. I recommend for everybody. It's a vigorous diaphragmatic breathing exercise. There's a Thai Buddhist forest meditation tradition, which is more relaxed and natural belly breathing, but both accomplish the same goal of returning stasis to the system. It can actually, and this is all, I think this is all on Wim Hof's website, help mitigate the symptoms of PTSD. It can help reverse diseases, because it is our system and our world has everything we need for optimal holistic, whole body, whole experience health. And we've moved away from seeing that the answer does, to your point, 15 years. It's not, none of this is overnight. These are practices, and it's a journey.
And it's what they say takes 21 days to have life enhancing habits, and I think that's what it comes into. And once you do something for a while, that just becomes your new reality. And as long as there's verifiable evidence, and of course you and I are here to share our vibrancy and our aliveness and our excitedness and just being stoked about what we're able to create. And that's one thing I'll share, because we were talking about how you created as an author, how I created as a musician. I feel like when you have a clean temple system, then all of a sudden you're opening up a channel, truly, like literally your vascular system is open to receive fresh oxygen, life enhancing foods, hydration, sleep, getting outside, breath, all of that. So what's your sixth recommendation?
So I want to, let's see. Yep. So I think exercise.
Yes.
So, and that, I mean, again, and now we're combining things. So if you go for a run, you're nailing the breathing, you're nailing the exercise, you're nailing the outdoors. If you do a workout in the park, if you do a HIIT class or whatever, and you're outside, you're combining and you're magnifying the result. And to
You
your
and I
point
love
about,
trail running. I love that trail
yes,
running.
oh,
That's
yeah.
like me. I get in like such a beautiful, like connected place, and whatever problem or solutions that are needed, it just like gets like clears everything.
Hmm.
And as all these things you're speaking into, like I mean, this is my own recommendations. Certain people may not, maybe dealing with an injury. Some people
Hmm.
might prefer swimming. Might people just stretch,
Yeah.
yoga. But to me, I think like that's been my thing when I get back into that routine and that
Hmm.
process. I actually looked at the word routine today. It's actually from the 17th century, and it's from the word route or path, like or
Okay.
route. So
Yeah.
when you're on a routine, you're on a path. And when
Yep.
you're literally on a trail run, all of a sudden, like you create this routine or this pattern that you
Yeah.
really, you and I've talked about this before, like how can you disrupt life
Yeah.
destructive patterns and habits? And so
Hmm.
for me and for you and for anyone out there listening, like exercise and moving the body, like truly gets you out of that space. And,
Yeah.
we're all like quarantined and people feel like really sedentary. And what have
Hmm.
they said? Like, sitting is the new smoking or something as far as how bad it is for the body. So
Yeah.
moving
I
it really is really important.
It's huge. And to
Yeah.
your point, for me, I'm the same way. I love a trail run. And I like the sound of my footfalls and the meter of my breath. And that's kind of the metronome of my run. And some people love
Mm,
music. And the key is to find your thing. If you
yeah.
don't have a thing, try a bunch of different stuff. Rock
Yeah. I love that.
climbing, live action LARPing, live action role play,
Mm,
going on adventure quests, playing capture the flag, paintball, basketball,
yes.
stickball, whatever it is.
Frisbee.
If it's something where you haven't ever exercised, or you used to be an athlete, or used to exercise and you haven't, walk a mile, walk around the
Mm,
block, do
absolutely.
that until it's not hard, and then expand. Add some hills, run on the
Yes.
grass or run in sand. If running is your thing, my neighbor, he cannot stand running, he loves lifting, so that's his thing, whatever it is. But
Absolutely.
that's the thing, that's where the personal responsibility, again, the end of our fingers.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're responsible for this. This is the bio machine we get in this life. This is our system, and it's going to behave and react just like any other system. If we don't treat it well and we don't keep it up, just look at technology. If there's a website running a 6-year-old technology, it's not going to function as well, potentially, if at all, as something that's made with modern React or whatever the
Mm,
the development language is. So it's just about the maintenance, which is about the journey, which is on the path, which is just take it with you and make one change today,
I love
whatever
it.
the thing is, whether it's intention, attention, activity, breathing, water, whatever the thing is, just choose one and incorporate that. And if you can choose multiple, then do that. And it's really just at your pace. If it's something that you want because you're not happy with some aspect of your experience right now, take the first step. That's really all
Mm,
it takes. And don't expect it to be overnight. The one thing I love from Zen Buddhism is Satori experiences, and those are the little micro enlightenments along. Those are the aha moments, the epiphanies
mm.
along on the path or on in life. Those are all enlightenment experiences, and it's really just. I think my journey was really just a collection of just tossing the experiences in the bag, and oh, that feels good. Oh, that doesn't feel good. I'm gonna do more of that and less of that. Awesome. But it's
Mm.
individual and independent for everybody. Um, and everybody's system is different too. Like my wife, we're primarily plant based. She starts to crash if she doesn't get a little animal protein every so often. We're all individual. We're all our own selves, but part of the thing we can do is learn more about ourselves to have a better experience in life.
Hmm. Wow. Well, I think that's a beautiful note to end on. And I think it's great right now because I want to share a excerpt of your audiobook
Yeah,
that is 1 minute long. And I think it's really going to
it's short one.
allow for people. And I'm going to share with everyone. Make sure you go to radicalenlightenment.com And we are going to play this out by requesting you go to the Instagram and listen to this wonderful sample of Kevin Russell's book, Radical Enlightenment, My Guy on the Ninth Floor.
The story of the elephant. There is a story about a man who, as he was passing a group of elephants, suddenly stopped, confused by the fact that these huge creatures were being held by only a small rope tied to their front leg. No chains, no cages. It was obvious that the elephants could, at any time, break away from their bonds, but for some reason, they did not. He saw a trainer nearby and asked why these animals stood still and made no attempt to escape. Well, the trainer said, when they are very young and much smaller, we use the same size rope to tie them, and at that age, it is enough to hold them. As they grow up, they are conditioned to believe they cannot break away. They believe the rope can still hold them, so they never try to break free. This is one of my all-time favorite parables. It resonated with me from the moment I first read it. I think this is a close but not exact approximation to the human three-dimensional experience. The main difference being that our shackles are invisible, and we were never even aware that we were imprisoned to begin with.